Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Player's Edge. We figured we'd open the show with a nice, cool, easy vibe for someone who's got a nice, cool, easy vibe and calling the races, and that's Vic Stauffer from Oaklawn Park. Vic, how are you this evening?
I am living the dream.
Indeed, we were talking about that before. You actually are living the dream for certain. So, but it probably wasn't always that way, I would imagine. In the question and answer that we did, you had mentioned that you left school pretty early as a kid, decided you wanted to get into the horse racing business, what, around 8th grade? Is that all right?
Yeah, I knew when I was a teenager, an early teenager, that I was going to spend my life at the racetrack. And I could have gone all the way in school. I could have gone and gotten a master's or whatever, and I discussed it with my parents, and I told them, I said, I'll do that if you need me to do it, but I'm going to end up at the racetrack anyway. And so I went out to San Diego State, took the GED, and went to the races when I was 15, and I've never looked back. And I can honestly say I am 62 years old, and I have never once ever put in an honest day's work.
No, we disagree with that. They're all honest. No matter what you do, it's an honest day's work. I think it's more of that I don't know if you want to call it I don't know what it is, life advice, that if you spend a day, if you do what you love, you never spend a day working. I think it's more along those lines than not putting in an honest day's work, right?
Okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, indeed. So what else is good is my man Terry Hollywood Hay. Not our picks today at Aqueduct, but outside of that, Terry and I are all right. Terry, How are you out on the West Coast tonight?
Oh, I'm doing really well. Yeah, the Aqueduct kind of got us, especially in a couple of those legs on that late pick 4. But anyway, hi, Vic. I was wondering if I could ask you a quick question. Of all the races that you've called, what's been your favorite race to call?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, Terry. I guess the answer would be my first Florida Derby. I was kind of the Crash Davis of announcers for 20 years. And I bounced around in the bus leagues for many, many years and always felt that I could call the races on the world stage. And finally in 2000, Doug Dunn, who ran Gulfstream, took a chance on me. And the very first Florida Derby I called was that year when a horse called Hal's Hope won. He was 48-1. He was trained by an 88-year-old man. He was ridden by a 50-year-old drug-addicted jockey. And they beat Wayne Lucas and Pat Day at 3-5. And I got through the call. I got through it. It wasn't my greatest race call, but it was the call that let me know that I could do it on a national level. And so I always hearken back to that race call as being one of my favorites. Obviously, all 8 of Queenie's wins. I mean, any of them would also be favorites, and Lava Man's 3 Gold Cups and all of that. But I usually answer that question by saying the 2000 Florida Derby with Hal's Hope.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good story.
And then to Terry's right, I think on everybody's screen, because they could be a little bit different layout for everybody else, is our Swiss Army Sean, the man who does everything behind the scenes. And now he's in front of the camera. Sean, what's happening, man?
Hey, what's up? Hey, Vic. So kids that are dreaming to be an announcer someday, as you had that dream too, what was the things that you thought about and now you're doing it and you're like, that's exactly how I thought it? And what are some challenges that you faced that you didn't realize how difficult it was?
Well, the actual function of being a race caller, any one of you 4 guys could do it, and I could teach you how to do it. You're not born to be a race caller. It's an acquired skill, and you can learn how to do it. I fell in love with race callers at Del Mar when the legendary race caller Harry Henson was calling the races there. And I found myself much more in tune to him than my buddies. I was certainly looking at the girls and getting ready to go to the beach too, and trying to cash a ticket. But I was really into listening to Harry call the races. When I finally got my break at Gulfstream, somebody said to me once, you sound a little like Tom Durkin. And I said, well, there's a reason for that. And that's because I'm not good enough to sound exactly like Tom Durkin. And if I was, I would. What I've learned about being a race caller is making race calls is all very well and good, but understanding that you're part of a team at the racetrack, you're part of the publicity department, you're part of the marketing department, you're part of the administration, you're part of the racing office, and if you walk in and think you're bigger than any of that, you will find out very, very quickly that you're looking for a job someplace else. And I actually learned that. I got fired at Detroit Racecourse in 1987, and it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I was cocky and I thought I knew everything. And sure, I did know everything, but nobody cared. So what I've learned about being a race caller is being a good team member, being a guy that if the janitor calls or if the general manager calls, treat everybody with the same respect, understand that I'm no different than anybody else on the team, and just try to give the fans a great day at the races.
And then on the bottom of our screen, we have What's Up, Tom. I'm not quite sure where the What's Up comes from. Usually he's got some moniker that goes along with his day at the races. So are you just like, you're not quite sure what happened at the races today, Tom?
Very confused.
Or just life in general. We're not quite sure.
Very, very confused. It was a confusing day. Vic, what are the hardest racehorse names to call?
The more syllables, the more syllables, Tom, is the ones that are tough, and then like a horse that has like a saying, like "Let's go to the park" or "Meet me at the station," something like that, because there's all kinds of other things it could be. And when you're memorizing a field of horses and then you get to that horse, you don't really 100% know that you know it. The names are difficult when, like I said, a lot of syllables. The races that are difficult are, for example, if I get a field of 8 or 9 12-5 claimers, you could take them from straight to the paddock, put them in the gate, and I would know who they are. But if I get 12 Arkansas bred maiden 12-5s and 6 of them are first-time starters, I need the entire 11 minutes of the warm-up to try to get them right, because they're new and different names, and sometimes, frankly, they're kind of goofy names too. So the more syllables, if I had my choice, Claiborne Farm would win the Eclipse every year, because when they bred horses, they always name them one name horses, Swale, and like that. And so I guess that would be the answer when you get names that could be something else too. Mm-hmm. It could be "Let's meet at the park," or "Let's meet at the station," or "Let's jump up and down." And sometimes you get those mixed up. And then when I was in California, there was a guy named Benjamin Warren, and he would breed 50 Calbreds every year, and every horse was named Warren's something. And you might have 6 horses in that day at Hollywood Park that were Warren's something. Warren's Tyler Bays, Warren's Jump Up and Down, Warren's Embryo, Warren's Taxicab. And they, of course, had the same silks. So those were sometimes very challenging, because you'd get the wrong Warren's whatever. You'd get a Warren's whatever that ran in the 3rd, and now he's in the 9th, and it's a different one. And so that was challenging too.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be really challenging for my dyslexic self. I would be screwed for sure. So where does the goof on the roof come from? There's got to be an origin for that.
Yeah, it's basically just truth in advertising. I work on the roof, and I'm a goof.
So you came up with it yourself, or somebody else came
actually
up with
Larry Colmus came up with that many years ago. He had 2 nicknames for me. One was named Vic the Brute. Vic the Brute was a horse, a $2,000 claimer that ran at Charlestown. And when Larry was, before he was ever a race caller, when he was just a kid, he used to sleep on my couch at Laurel and Pimlico. And he used to love to drive up to Charlestown and listen to Costi Caras call the races. And there was a horse up there named Vic the Brute. He would always call me that. But I think a combination of him and me and Marty McGee, we all came up with the goof on the roof. And like I said, it's just it's truth in advertising.
Him and me and Marty McGee. It almost sounds like it should be a Beatles song.
There you go. It could be a Janis Joplin song.
Yeah.
Yes,
Me and Bobby McGee. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I was in the right era, just the wrong person.
There you go.
For sure. And then you also do a handicapping show, and if memory serves, and this is coming from memory, so if I get it wrong, don't kill me. But you also make the line there too, right?
No, I don't.
No, you don't make the line. All right. So when you do your handicapping,
we have the worst morning line on planet Earth.
You do?
Oh, it's just awful. And I won't even get in trouble for saying this because I've been saying it for 3 years. And when we do our handicapping show, when it's wrong, I take shots at it, and management hasn't told me to shut up yet. I would if I was management, but they haven't.
Well, we won't call out who makes the line, but so when you
it's actually 3 different people in the racing office, and it's kind of a conglomeration, and one person does 3 races, another and another. And I don't know why, but I just don't think it's all that important to Oaklawn. If it was, we'd do a better job with it. But I know I won't get in trouble for saying this because I complain about the line almost every day when I do my handicapping show with Nancy Holthus.
So when you do your handicapping show, getting prepared for it, does that in any way, shape, or form influence your race call because you have some preconceived idea how the race might go, or does it not impact it at all?
I'd like to say it doesn't, because my conceptions are only an opinion, and it would be arrogant to call the race as to seem surprised if something didn't go the way I thought it would go, because who the hell am I to say that I thought it would go a certain way? Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you get a dyed-in-the-wool speed horse and he gets left, it's news. I don't think it at this point affects what I think is going to happen, and I know it doesn't affect when I bet. Because people say, oh, well, I could tell who you bet on. No, you can't. Because I've called enough races that I can. I mean, people pretty much know who I'm betting on anyway, because I say during the show, I intend to bet on this horse today. But if I didn't do that, or if I didn't do a handicap, no one would ever know when I made a bet. Because I think that is just the height of unprofessionalism, when you can tell an announcer is betting on a particular horse and calling it in such a way that really doesn't have anything to do with how the horse is running.
Mm-hmm. I never really paid attention to that. I have to start listening to that some more. It's there's some baseball there.
There's some guys that you can tell, and but in my case, I was a jocks agent for many, many years. Well, not many years, but for the better part of 3 years when I was calling the races at Hollywood Park. And I was told by management, do not make it sound like you're favoring your jock or rooting for your jock. And you can be alive as an agent for a whole heck of a lot more money than you are if you made a bet. And I would always call those races very straight up. I mean, I had Joel Rosario at Hollywood Park, and if Talamo or Bejarano or Tyler Bays or Martin Garcia won 3 races, I'd make a big deal out of it. If Rosario won 3 races, I wouldn't even say anything. And that's the way I promised management I would do it. I'll tell you a story about that, though. One day at Hollywood Park, he didn't win 3, he didn't win 4, he won 5. And I didn't say a word. But before the last race, where he had a chance to tie the all-time record, which was held by Lafitte Pinkai, Bill Shoemaker, and Kent DeSormo, the general manager of the track, Ewell Wyatt, called me, and he said, if he does tie the record, you have to say something. Because he knew I wouldn't. And sure enough, he won the last race. He tied the record, and I did say something about that in the race call and also in the winner's circle.
William here says, Vic, have you been on TVG lately? And man, you can handicap, or you can handicap, man. Told you I have dyslexia.
I haven't been on TVG as a host or an analyst in a few years. I tended to work as a freelancer when I was closer to Culver City, which is where the studio is. And then COVID hit, and everybody was doing. They ended up having a skeleton crew. They stopped using freelancers. And now that they're back to using some freelancers, I'm pretty busy all year. I've done a couple of interviews when guys come in for big races, but actually being on their air as an analyst or a host, it's been probably about maybe 3.5 years since I was.
Well, speaking of the races, we're going to get into a couple of races tonight. We're going to get into the Honeybee Stakes. We're going to get into the Rebel, and then we're going to do an allowance optional claiming to close out the card for $100,000. The first race we're going to get into tonight is the Honeybee Stakes. That's race number 5. There it is. I thought it's not going to pop up, but grade 3, a mile and a 16th on the main track there, the dirt track. So this one is a points race for the Kentucky Oaks. When you're running a mile and a 16th at Oaklawn Park, is there any particular running style you've noticed from being on the roof that tends to perform well?
Yes, being fast.
Well, it always seems to be that case down there, though, right?
Yeah, and I don't mean fast by having speed. I mean being the best horse. The Oaklawn, for about 3,462 reasons, is the best place to gamble on planet Earth. And one of the main reasons is it is the single most unbiased, fairest, level playing field racetracks you will ever see. You can win if you're inside speed. You can win if you're a middle of the pack stalker, or you can win if you are a sit circle and come 6 wide. And the best horse wins. Race shape does matter. If you get a lot of speed, it'll set up for closers. We know that. Or if you get uncontested or a slow pace, it'll keep the front runners fresh. But there is no bias in any way, shape, or form to the Oaklawn track, and that is a handicapper's Valhalla.
All right. So one quick question before we get on to the Laloy says, how do race announcers memorize the names of all the horses, especially when there's 10 or more in the field?
Many announcers do it different ways. A lot of announcers mark their programs with colored pens and pencils and crayons and all of that. I've never been one of the guys that does that. When the horses come out onto the racetrack and they're down in front of me in the post parade, I look at their silks and I go through and I memorize their names to the silks. Now you might have a field of 12 horses and 6 of them have red silks. Well, now you have to look at something else. Does it have blinkers on? Is it a gray horse? Is the cap color different? All kinds of different things. Is it a Todd Pletcher horse? So therefore it has a white bridle, and you know and anticipate that. Like I said, if you get a field of, like the race that we're going to do, the last race we're going to do tonight is Arkansas Breds in the last. I could call that race with they could put them in the gate with me looking at them for 30 seconds because I know those horses now. I've seen them enough times. I know their silks, and they're allowance horses, so they're not changing silks by being claimed. So it's just a function of familiarizing yourself with the silks, and when they're warming up, I'll go through and sort of make like a practice or a stock race call. I do that to make sure I know who they are. Plus, I do it to get myself in sort of a rhythm that I want to be in for the particular race. Memorization is an acquired skill just like anything else, and I could teach you guys to do it.
To remember things. Well, I think myself, I could probably use a little bit of training in that. I tend to be forgetful. Hitting the head too many times. We've talked about it on the show. But so again, we're going to go with the Honeybee 1 1/16 miles. When you're breaking down this race, and I know it's not till Saturday, so some things can change between here and there. When you're breaking down this race, Vic, how do you stack them?
There's a chance the Secret Oath is one of the 2 or 3 best 3-year-old fillies I've ever seen in my life. I think she's that good. She won an allowance race earlier at this meet, and it was breathtaking. And then she ran into Martha Washington, And I thought, wow, unless she's a really good horse, she might be up against it, because in that race that day, there was no speed. There was Optionality, who's back in against her. But other than that, they were going to crawl on the front end. And so I was thinking, she's going to have to close into good fillies that are fresh in front of her. And that could be difficult. And then she demolished them. If you go back and look at this replay of her in the Martha Washington, Louis Contreras turns her loose at about the 3/8 pole, and she takes off, and he realizes that if I don't take another hold of her, she's going to win this race by 35 lengths. So he reaches up and retakes a hold of her, and now waits until about the 3/16 pole and turns her loose, never uncocks her stick, and she runs away and hides by 7 lengths. And looked good doing it, and ran a very fast number on Thoroughgraph. She ran a 1.5, which is crazy for a 3-year-old filly at this point in her career. Now, Saturday, she actually catches a race where it should set up for her. Optionality goes. UG Reed goes. Feel Like a Girl goes. Even Ice Orchid's got some speed. So now she's actually going to get some race shape. She's earning money for the Kentucky Oaks in this race, but I wouldn't put it past the coach to think about running her against the boys in the Derby. I think she's that good. I think she's a generational 3-year-old filly, and I will be shocked if she gets beat in the Honeybee.
Terry, are you going to be shocked if she gets beat in Honeybee? Are you with us, Terry, or did you mute yourself, my friend?
So shocked he's mute.
Yes,
So
you got to work on those memory skills.
Yeah. I'm going to try to beat her with number 2, Yuri Curly. Has finished in the money 3 out of 4 races, or 3 out of 3 races during her career.
Yuri G.
Yeah, Yuri G. Okay.
Yep. I called Rudy Bissett and asked him. That's the only reason I know.
Oh, all right. I have a hard time with a lot of these horse names. Anyway, she's won one of the races, and she ran second in the Goldenrod Grade 2 race and received the highest last race speed rating. She has the best dirt speed among today's starters, actually tied with another horse. Then I like number 3, Secret Oath. Won her last race at Oaklawn easily, and it was her second in a row. So she's going for a hat trick. And then her best dirt speed is fastest among today's starters, actually with number 2. She has a good 4 furlong workout, 48 breezing, second best out of 14. Then I like number 4, Ice Orchid. Won her maiden race at Oaklawn at today's distance, and the trainer wins 17% of the time when bringing the winner of their maiden race back to a race. And the trainer-jockey combination in the last 14 days won 4 out of 6 races. Then number 1, Optionality, won 3 races in a row, and then ran second, defeated by Secret Oath. She has 100% of the time. She has finished 100% of the time in her career in the race, in the money, and she is 3 out of 7 career races winner.
How about you, Sean? Are you going to be nutty enough to try to beat her?
No, I'm going with Secret Oath. She's absolutely dominated the last 2 races, and like Vic said, this race I see 3 speed horses, so I mean it's going to set up perfectly.
I think there's more than 3. I think they're all speed to some degree, except for her.
Yeah,
Her
Red Queen is just a field filler, but the other ones are really nice.
Yeah, and second, I'm actually Ice Orchard's another one I think that could get some pace to run at. Has gotten better each race, gotten more distance each time. Last race was a win at the same distance. Will benefit from all that speed. And then I went with, and I'm not going to remember how to pronounce that name either. And I actually talked to.
I think he said UVG.
UVG. Just make believe that there's only one U, and then it's YU. Oh, I actually said it wrong. It's UG Re. UG Re.
UG Re. Okay.
Yep.
That's my third choice. I thought if there was one horse that might wire the field, it would be this one. I talked to Rudy Brissett today, actually, because it was interesting, too. I saw Tyler Gaffalione is off this horse. Tyler's off this horse because he didn't think he was going to be at Oaklawn, so the whole thing happened, and obviously they're getting Johnny V, so they're not complaining about that, and he thinks this horse is going to be even better off the layoff, and that was all planned. And the workouts are good at Oaklawn. The only concern I had was that she's never raced at Oaklawn and the 3-month layoff, but that was all part of the plan. So I got 3-4-2.
So you asked Brissett and he likes her?
Yeah, he liked where she was at, and she's going to be stronger, come back stronger here.
Yeah. She's a nice filly, and the race that she ran second in the Goldenrod was a very good number. I just didn't see her winning off the layoff against a filly that's as good as Secret Oath. But she's a really nice filly.
Thomas, what's up with you?
Oh, took number 4, my top choice, Ice Orchid. I like the time of the race that she ran. She ran faster than some of these have run. And that's if it can continue that trend, and just learning what to do, it'd be an interesting move to see what that horse can do. Terry mentioned about the jockey combination, 6 starts and 4 wins. That's always nice to see with the jockey trainer working together. And yeah, I think she's got a nice chance here. And if she's gonna have to be a little tactical here because there is a lot of speed. But we'll see. 3 Secret Oaths, kind of hard to pass on. I think she could have won by more in her last race. She obviously likes Oaklawn. My only concern with her is the off track, if it becomes off, and there is a chance. And because the breeding doesn't suggest 100% liking an off surface. Yuri girl. Yeah, UG layoff, maiden winner, but it's placed at the grade 2 at Churchill. I thought it was interesting that they added blinkers in that race, but still didn't win. So we'll see. And having Johnny V does not hurt any.
For me, I look at this race, as much as I do not like those 3-2 odds for Secret Oath. Like Vic said, I think this thing just sets up too perfect to some form of early pace. She's not necessarily needing the lead. She'll sit right off, get great position, and run by everybody at the end. Ice Orchard, not a big fan of the horses making that maiden jump into the stakes races. But when you look at the internal numbers of that last race, the early pace, the mid pace, the late pace, all improved. So I think that horse is cycling north. UG took 4 of us to get it. Hopefully I got it right. But this horse, I think, is the speed of the speed. So if speed does hold up, it's the best chance to go wire to wire. If not, then optionality will be the one that takes them wire to wire, if that's how the race plays out.
Next you don't have to worry about her being 3-2.
It's going to be lower than that, I'm sure.
It's going to be 1-2.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, I don't like those odds, but I mean, we're talking about who's going to win, not how we're going to bet. So
exactly.
we have to play it like if we're calling it, and we don't have money in the game.
You know, I thought it was interesting something Tom said about time. The great trainer Jack Van Berg said time only matters if you're doing it, and her actual final running time was faster than Secret Oath. Have you guys heard of the Thorograph numbers?
Yes.
With them,
Yes.
They're basically like a buyer's speed figure, but much more sophisticated. She ran a 9 1/4 in her race, and Secret Oath ran a 1 1/2. That means if you dropped Ice Orchid out of a helicopter, she couldn't beat Secret Oath. Not good enough.
Not fast enough. All right.
Not
well,
fast.
Well, let's see. Who do we think is going to be fast enough in the Rebel? This is a Kentucky Derby points race. We have a lot of these horses have matched up in the Southwest as well. So you're going to see some rematches here. Anything that you see in this race, Vic, that's going to change the order of the Southwest?
Why don't you guys let me go last this time?
You want to go last this time? All right. So you can go last this time. So Sean, you get to go first. That means, according to my list. So let's go out there first and see what you have to say.
I'm going with the favorite again. New Grange has never lost. Fire number keeps improving. Got an extra distance each time. Now at the same 1 mile and 16th. Has won on and off the lead and beat a bunch of these horses already. So I don't see him getting beat. And then I went number 8, Chasing Time. Should be able to get a nice stalking trip in here. Has a win and a second at Oaklawn. Love going a mile, winning that race by almost 8. Now gets another 16, so the distance is not going to be a problem. And Saturday, interesting about this horse is 5 races, 5 different jockeys, and now Saturday will make 6 races, 6 different jockeys, and it doesn't seem to matter. And then I went with Dash Attack number 11 for third. won his first 2 starts, and then the last race wasn't all that great. I do think, though, this horse always finds a way to, slow start, brush another horse, that type of stuff. So a clean trip, and also the workouts have been, the workouts have been really good too. So if closer to the pace will work out better for this horse too from the outside.
Thomas, what do you think?
I took number 7. Ben Diesel's my top choice. Ran third last out to the top contender. And I thought it ran a little green because it drifted a little bit here and there. And it wants to lead, but it seems to act up a little too. And one of the things that struck me is it won its maiden race. And then it's got 3 races with really awful post positions. 10, 13, and 1. Well, finally got a decent draw, I think, versus what it's been running. And, you just have to think about it. They changed the tactics a little bit. They're running a little better, forward, and as I like to say, the ageless one is up on that horse, John Court. What is he, 62, 63? And he's still winning races. Number 2, New Grange. Yeah, kind of hard to beat his last race. It looked nice. He worked well at Santa Anita. Again, I go with the track issues. On the mare side, she did not like to run on the off surface, and she's not thrown anything that likes the off surface. So if it comes up a little bit of a question, it could be a problem for that horse. Took 4. Un Ojo, my final choice. Had a little problem getting out of the gate, and then ran from the clouds to finish second to early voting in a 1 1/8 race. And prior to that, it was running in some restricted New York stake race, and those were only worth $500,000, so decent. Interesting path for this horse. I mean, it's gone starting at Keeneland, didn't win, won at Delta, and then ran 4th in the Lafitte. And then, the thing that I liked about it is that, of course, it ran on a nice race on a muddy track, and it does like to run from the clouds. So I don't think early voting is a bad horse. I think there's a good chance here we're going to get some decent odds, and they could show up in the winner's circle.
Terry, you don't want to get to agree with with the guest this time, because the guest is going last, so you're on your own, buddy. What do you like?
All right. Well, it's really hard to bet against number 2, New Grange. It's won 3 out of 3 career races. The last 2 were grade 3 affairs and has the highest last speed rating. His best dirt speed is fastest among today's starters, and he has a bullet workout on February 19th at Santa Anita, 58.3 handling, the best out of 46. And then I like number 9, Barber Road. Ran second in the last 2 races and now changed to a high percentage winning jockey. And the trainer in the last 14 days has finished in the 10 out of 16 races in the money, winning a couple of those races. He has a good 4 furlong workout on 21st of February. And then number 8, Chasing Time, won his last race at Oaklawn easily at a mile and now stretches out to a mile 16th. He has a high percentage winning trainer and jockey. And then number 10, Ethereal Road, closed from deep to win his maiden race at Oaklawn. He is trained by a master trainer, Dwayne Lucas, who knows a thing about winning races.
He knows a thing or two for sure. So looking at this race, there are a few speed horses in here. Most of them, when pressured, fade. New Grange is not of that sort. I think there'll be some pressure on him, but he should be able to handle that pressure. And he beat, like I said, many of these last time out. I think he does it again. If not, Barber Road should stalk the leaders. As I mentioned, many of them tend to have a little bit of fade in them at the end of the race. So if New Grange has some fade in them, then Barber Road goes by him. I do agree. Chasing Time is another one that's going to sit right off the pace with you, Terry. So we got our top 3 in the same order. You've hacked my computer again. And then finally, I think there's enough speed in here that there's going to be some closer. And that closer, Tom, is going to be Un Ojo. So I feel like that's a horse And what I liked about it is when you look at the past races, you see that the horse closed into speed and closed into slow paces. So that tells me that that late kick is for real. There'll be a lot of tiring speed at the end of this mile in the 16th, and he'll either pick up third or fourth. All right, Vic, we made our choices. Now it's your turn to tell us where we're all wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think you're around it. If you get a chance to go back and watch a couple of movies for this race, certainly you want to go back and watch the Southwest, and we'll talk about that. But go back and watch the movie when Ethereal Road broke his maiden, because it was breathtaking. I mean, he was 15 lengths behind the last horse at the half-mile pole, and looked like he looked like a Rozzy in that day in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Churchill Downs. It was really remarkable. That's a fun piece of film to look at. The piece of film that you really need to look at, though, is the Southwest, for a number of reasons. Newgrange, after the race, Johnny Velasquez told Bob Baffert that he didn't really feel comfortable on the racetrack. He felt it was cupping out underneath him a little bit, which led me to believe that we wouldn't see Newgrange back here, because Johnny V said he didn't like the racetrack. But trainers, a trainer like Bob Baffert is going to say, okay, fine, you ride him, I'll train him, and let's see what he can do. Now, I know that they wanted to make the lead last time, and he couldn't, because he looked like he was spinning his wheels a little bit on the clubhouse turn. And then if you go back and look at the 3/16 pole, he was finished. He was not going to get anything. And then because he's such a good horse, he just sort of ground his way to the win. They wanted to put him on the engine last time, and they couldn't. I have to think that if Baffert is sending him back, that he's not worried about him not liking the racetrack. And if that's the case, he's a very good horse. Another thing that you'll see in that race, I made a very big bet on Ben Diesel last time, and he couldn't possibly have gotten a more perfect trip and a perfect ride. And at the 16th pole, I thought he was going to get a big piece of it, and he finished third. I can't see how there's any scenario where he would ever finish in front of those two horses again, Barber Road and Newgrange, because John Court rode him perfect. He saved every inch of the ground. And with due respect, I don't know why you would consider the one hole a bad post going a mile and 16th, but because it's the shortest way around. But hey, that's to everybody's opinion. But I think Ben Diesel is a cut below. Newgrange is the horse to beat. If they do send him, he is going to take some heat early from Cavad, because Cavad's a sprinter, and I don't think you could drag him into the winner's circle in this race, but he's got a lot of speed. After that, though, with the exception of Chasing Time, I don't think there's all that much gas in this race. And so I see Cavad and Newgrange setting the pace. Then I see a bunch of late runners, and then I see a horse with Gaffalione on him with a big smile on his face riding Chasing Time. I think he falls into the absolute perfect trip. The race that he won going a mile, he was just getting going at the wire, and he ran a 4 on Thoroughgraph. Newgrange, when he won the Southwest, ran a 3.5. So they're actually pretty darn close. And the rest of them aren't that fast. He's 8-1. He's Asmussen, who points. He has been thinking about running in the Rebel, I guarantee you, since this horse was 2. And he sets up campaigns to get horses to certain races on certain days. And I'm sure that Chasing Time, the plan was always to get him to run his best race in the Rebel. Going to get a great trip. He's 8-1 on the line. He's my pick. Number 7, Chasing Time. Number 8, number 7. I don't know what number he is, but that's who I like.
Can I tell you, he won't be 8-1 either, though. Or
I don't think so, but I don't think he'll be. I agree, but I don't think he'll be like. I think he'll be like 5-6, something like that, because Barber Road's going to take money. He ran second in Newgrange. Ben Diesel's going to take money. You think Chasing Time might be the second choice, don't you?
Well, I think when you look at the owner, my racehorse, those folks bet their horses no matter what.
You know something? I think on this big a day, that's a little bit of a stretch, but I don't disagree with that. He could be the second choice because Barber Road's a nice horse, and Santana rode him perfect. He just was second best. Ben Diesel will never beat those two horses. You're right. I mean, Chasing Time might end up being the second choice at like 7-2 or 4-1. If he is, then he's probably just an okay bet. If he actually happens to get away at 6-7-1, then he becomes a very good bet.
Well, I think he's going to be a big part of it. I think he and Barbara Road are basically going to run a similar race. It's just a matter of which one has a little bit more at the end to get the job
I think
done.
you're right about that, but therein lies the story. Barbara Road has no style. I mean, they run away from him the first part of it. And they're not going to change it because he ran second in back-to-back stakes. So him and Chasing Time will both fire from the 3/8 pole, but I think Chasing Time will be 4 or 5 lengths in front of him when they start that run, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. If I'm in front of you and we both have the same late legs, you're not going to catch me. That's pretty simple. Like I couldn't catch my friend Robert Searles whenever we ran 100-yard dashes. The last race we're going to do for today is the race number 12. Is that right, guys? Race number 12?
Yeah.
I thought I had it listed. Oh, this is a $100,000 stake. I mean, $100,000 purse, but optional claiming 20,000 non-winners in one lifetime. Okay, so I confused myself. 6 furlongs. So do you feel like speed here at 6 furlongs is more of a factor, or is it still a race and distance where the best horse wins?
Well, it's definitely a factor because most of the sprint races on planet Earth are won by horses that never lay further back than third. That's just the simple fact of the matter. If you have tactical speed in sprints, you have a distinct advantage over horses that are late running sprinters and trying to run down horses late, and it's very difficult to do. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that the racetrack is speed biased, but it does mean that it's race shape biased. And that is, if you lay close in sprints, you've got a big chance, a big edge over late running sprinters.
So as you assess this field, do you want to go first? Do you want to go last again? Where do you want to go?
I want to go last.
He wants to go last. All right, Sean, that means, Tom, according to my matrix, that means you're up, my friend.
I am. And I picked number 11, Rolling Fork, as my top choice. Comes back against State Bred's, been off since August, from Charlestown and a few other places. Racing have not been great, so the layoff probably was a good thing. Likes Oaklawn, got 5 starts, 2 wins, a second and a third. I really like the work. 47-1 handily from the gate. They obviously looking for speed, and this is certainly the place to do it. And I think front end, very likely, or slightly back. And I like its efforts, of course, on the off tracks. 6, Leo Del Rio is my next choice. Ran okay last out and then didn't finish. They placed him in an allowance race at Delta Downs, and he didn't belong in that race, and he looked like it, but a nice workout. Why not? Switching jockeys, I think, helps. I think the post draw is better for this horse. Trainer doesn't have any wins, so that's a negative, but he does okay out third off the layoff. He's got 18%. 45% of the money and a positive ROI, and it's not big, but it's something. I'm assuming a big price here. He's a veteran. He's got 23 starts. He knows what to do. 3, Good Night Archie is my final choice. Placed third last out. Was forwardly placed and got caught for second. I think he's going to show speed again. I like the jockey switch, Carlos Santana. And I think he'll run a good effort here, and at very least, be in the money.
Terry, who do you think is going to be in the money?
Well, I like number 7, Heritage Park. Ran second in the last race and dug in, only losing by a neck. Really tried to win that and earned the highest last speed rating. He likes Oaklawn, finishing in the money 61% of the time there and winning 31% of the races that he ran in. He can handle the distance, as he's won 5 out of 12 races at this distance. And then number 12, UVC, has finished in the money in all 3 races he has competed at in Oaklawn, winning one of those contests at today's distance. Then I like number 11, Tom's pick, Rolling Fork. Won 2 races at Oaklawn last spring at today's distance. He last raced in August and has been on a break since then, but comes in with a high percentage trainer winning trainer, and has a bullet workout on February 16th at 47-1, handling from the gate, the best out of 69 workouts. Then I like number 10, Navy Seal. Ran second versus similar in the last race at Oaklawn at today's distance and has veteran jockey Calvin Burrell in the irons. He has a good 4 furlong workout on February 19th, 48-4, breezing. 9th best out of 89.
Sean, your last picks for this week. Thanks
So
for
I
unmuting
see-
yourself without the cue.
So I see a bunch of speed in here, especially from number 7, Heritage Park, and number 8, Mo Choctaw. You could also see number 3, Goodnight Archie, maybe number 12, UVC from the outside. So a bunch of speed. So I'm going closer here. Number 4, Where's Randy? Closed well in all 3 of his races, winning one and getting second in another. He's had trouble trips in all 3 races. I don't like that he usually tends to break really slow and step slow, but that's his running style. The workout since last race was very good. If he could do a little bit more pace, I'd really like his chances. And then I'm going to go with number 12, UVC. This horse has enough speed to get a good position from the outside, but doesn't need the lead. And I think could be sitting in the catbird seat with maybe number 7, Heritage Park, and number 8, Mo Choctaw going at each other. And then Rolling Fork, coming off a much-deserved break. This horse raced 9 times in a 6-month period. Has speed, but can also close. And the workouts, like Tom noted, are very, very good. So I would expect a little bit more speed. And another one I could be sitting mid-pack.
Well, for me, Sean, lest me lose another $1. I don't think that I don't think there's going to be as much speed as you think in this race. I do think there are a few that are going to try for the front, but most of them, when pressured, tend to fade. So I think a lot of that speed is going to disappear pretty quickly. And then Mo Choctaw, to me, is the speed of the speed. He's the one that stands out. And I think if there's a speed horse that wins this race, it's going to be number 8. Number 11, Rolling Fork. Nice work getting ready for this spot. I expect it to be right behind those early leaders. And then when they start to peel off one by one, because they are fake speed, then it'll roll right on by them. Number 12, UVC. Only one way to the winner's circle, and that is speed. He's going to be up on the front. I don't think there's any question he's going to try for the lead. But when pressure does tend to fade late, but of all of the just pure speed horses, there's only 2 of them in this field. Of the pure speed horses, it does have the most late legs of the field. And then I think he'll be at there to the end and then just get kind of past late, maybe in the last couple strides as he's tiring and shortening his strides. And then finally, number 1, Fleet Sky. This horse is a closer. He'll chase down some of those fake speed horses at the end. Was really well bet in its debut. So that tells me the folks around the horse like the horse and will come in to be a part of the trifecta or exacta at the back. All right, Vic, how do we do on this one?
Well, I'm going to carve up pretty much everything you guys said, just because I can. First of all, the Fleet Sky and Where's Randy, in my estimation, have 0 chance. They're 3-year-olds against olders, and boy, I'll tell you, this early in the year, it is awfully tough. Where's Randy looked good? He looked green, but he looked good. But he was born in March, so he's still 2. If you think about it physiologically. And he beat an okay field of maidens, but this is a totally different group of horses. I mean, I mean, look at a horse like Heritage Park. He's won 6 times, and he's a 6-year-old. Heritage Park is a real conundrum to me because he used to be one of my favorite horses, and he hasn't been the same horse this year. The race off the layoff, he got very tired. I didn't expect him to do it. The next race, I thought he was an international cinch at 7-5, and he was virtually eased. And if you go back and watch that race for 16 in his last start, watch Arrieta past mid-stretch because it looked like he didn't really want to turn him loose. Just go back and watch it and watch how he rode him. I'm not saying he didn't try. He was trying, but I have a feeling Heritage Park might be a little rocky these days. He is faster than Mo Choctaw early when he's himself. But I disagree with you about there being a lot of speed in this race. I think there's a ton of speed. If You know how when people try to get tickets to the old Washington Redskins and now the Commanders, and you can only get it if somebody dies? Well, the only way you can draw into an Arkansas bred race is if a horse dies. But if J.E.'s hand-me-down draws in, he's the right horse. He ran close to a horse called Garhole, and Garhole can beat open horses anywhere. That's how good of a Arkansas bred he is now. If he doesn't draw in, then I think the right horse is Navy Seal, who actually ran second to Garhole. Even though J.E.'s hand-me-down finished fifth, I would have leaned to him because I think he'll get a better trip on Saturday. You guys that like Rolling Fork, I get it. Johnny Ortiz has had an amazing meet. He got very good running against wide open horses. He won a race. He ran second in an allowance race at Churchill. That's a very good race. And then he ran second in a handicap at Colonial. Those are against open horses, and this is an Arkansas bred. The layoff, it's a factor, but I have a feeling that horse is going to get crushed in the windows. I think he's going to end up being the favorite. I may change my pick on Saturday and take him, but right now I think the right horse is 501. Or not 501, a Navy Seal. Horses at Oaklawn tend to kind of show you that they're getting closer to a win. He ran for a half mile and backed out of it against open horses. Edge to edge came back and ran very well against wide open 3-time money allowance horses. And then last time out, he ran second with Burrell to that horse I talked about, Garhole. He's also a Johnny Ortiz horse that could beat open company. And he ran a whole lot better. So if he continues to improve, and if J.E.'s hand-me-down doesn't draw in, I think Burrell gets his first win of the meet. He's my pick, Navy Seal.
All right, folks. Well, that wraps up our 3 races for the day, our question and answer. If you haven't had a chance to, head on over to horseracingtoday.net. Vic was kind enough to go ahead and put in some answers to some questions for us. So you see there's his wonderful picture. And then if you click on that, of course, there is the question and answer. So head on over to Horse Racing Today to learn a little bit more about Vic. And if folks want to keep up with you, Vic, what is the best way on social media?
Oh, definitely Twitter at Goof on Roof. I'm on there a lot and more than happy to talk racing and trade views. And Twitter is my thing. I hate Facebook. I actually closed that. And there's a couple of handicapping forums out there, but that's not really my thing. Twitter is the thing. At Goof on Roof, and I'd be happy to. I'll talk races with you till the middle of the night.
And it sounds like movies too.
and everything else.
And anything else under the sun. All right. So
I have an opinion on everything, and it's pretty much across the board wrong on most things.
That's all right. We're all allowed to have opinions. That's the great thing about living where we live.
It is.
One long shot for the Tri-Superfect. He likes the 5 in that last leg. So Tom and I will not be back tomorrow, but we'll be posting our Saudi Cup picks. Any thought on those races, Vic? Have you looked at them or no?
I couldn't tell you one horse that's in them.
All right.
I know Rosario's there riding. That's why he's not riding Chasing Time in the Rebel.
All right. So Tom and I will be posting our picks. Terry and I will be back on Saturday to talk about the Sunday stakes races at Sunland Park. And that's going to wrap up what we do tonight, folks. We appreciate you coming along. Vic, 100% our pleasure to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it was my pleasure, guys. And I know that I know I can be a pain in the ass, but it's just handicapping. Don't take it personal. I really appreciate it. I like what you guys had to say. You've obviously done your homework, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Same goes for you, and we wish you nothing but the best. And that, not your picks, but all of our picks, Terry, end up in the
winner's circle.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody, at the track with your families. Terry and I'll be back on Saturday and on Monday.